New Zealand in the mid-20th century viewed itself as a peaceful, egalitarian society. But above all else, its national identity was bound together by a singular, obsessive passion for the game of rugby. In 1981, that obsession faced an immediate stress test. The Springboks, South Africa's national rugby team, were scheduled for a nationwide tour of New Zealand. This photograph displays the reality of South Africa at the time. Look closely at the text strictly enforcing racial segregation on these public stairs. The Springboks represented a government actively enforcing apartheid, a legal, systemic brutalization and separation of its non-white citizens. Hosting the South African team forced a stark decision onto the New Zealand public. Buying a ticket and cheering for the Springboks meant implicitly endorsing the regime they represented, while rejecting the tour meant turning away the best rugby competition in the world. A large, conservative portion of the country argued that sport and politics should remain entirely separate entities. From this perspective, blocking a legal sporting event was an unconstitutional infringement on a law-abiding citizen's right to lawful assembly and private association. To them, diplomatic engagement was a far better tool for change than isolating athletes.
Keep them back! Hold the line! Leave us alone! We have rights! Watch out!
On the other side, a rapidly growing anti-apartheid movement argued that international sporting relations are inherently political. They believed you cannot play games with a nation while turning a blind eye to its human rights abuses. We can see the resulting tension on this map of New Zealand. Because the national government explicitly refused to cancel the tour, a political vacuum formed. This forced the massive geopolitical decision onto the public, accelerating deep demographic fractures between city and country populations. Without state intervention, ordinary citizens were left to settle the dispute. Families argued, friendships dissolved, splitting the country's social cohesion right down the middle. The moment the Springboks arrived, the philosophical debate vanished, replaced instantly by physical conflict. On July
Let me through! Get out of the way! Back up! Stay back! Up first eyes!
25th, the tour reached the city of Hamilton for a scheduled match at Rugby Park. Thousands of demonstrators tore down the stadium fences and flooded onto the playing field. The sheer mass of bodies on the grass made it impossible to play, forcing officials to completely cancel the match. This image captures the state's immediate aggressive response. Look at the police gripping batons and striking downward at the demonstrators. The government organized specialized riot control units known as the Red and Blue Squads, designed specifically to ensure no further games would be disrupted by the public. The Hamilton success changed the stakes. Civil disobedience was no longer just a threat. It became a proven tactic that transformed the tour into a sustained physical struggle between the police and the public. The tension climbed continuously over the following weeks, culminating in Auckland for the final test match of the tour. As the game proceeded below, a protester flying a small Cessna aircraft swooped directly over the stadium, dropping improvised flower bombs onto the field. But while
No surrender! Out, you scum! Watch the skies! They're dropping it! Run! Run!
the cameras were pointed at the sky, a separate realization was unfolding on the ground. Throughout the tour, marginalized domestic groups had been organizing and marching within the massive anti-apartheid crowds. You can see in this photograph Maori leaders marching arm in arm with protesters holding anti-apartheid banners. Activists pointed out a glaring hypocrisy. Thousands of white New Zealanders were willing to brawl with police over racism in South Africa, while largely ignoring domestic discrimination against Maori people in their own backyards. The intense focus on fighting foreign segregation acted as a societal mirror. It forced New Zealanders to look inward and confront the buried colonial realities operating within their own borders. By the time the Springboks packed up and flew back to South Africa, New Zealand's image of itself as a unified utopia was completely gone. The tour left behind deep, lingering bitterness. Neighbors who had stood on opposite sides of the riot lines stopped speaking, and the social divide persisted long after the final whistle. However, the incredible organizational energy generated by months of street protests did not dissipate. It was absorbed directly by domestic activists, rapidly accelerating the Māori Rights Movement. The tour's social wreckage served as a catalyst. It redirected the momentum of mass mobilization away from foreign rugby and toward the specific legal and land grievances of the Māori protest movement. The sheer scale of the civil unrest served as a harsh warning to lawmakers. It demonstrated that domestic racial inequality could easily trigger the same level of volatility if left unaddressed. Activists took the momentum from the streets and redirected it toward the government, aggressively lobbying institutions to dismantle local discrimination. This organizational chart illustrates the institutional response. Over the ensuing years, the government and private sector began inserting specific equity frameworks and structural affirmative action policies to actively integrate marginalized groups into workplaces and public institutions. The disruption of 1981 provided the leverage for these changes. By the time the tour ended, the focus had shifted from South African policy to the concrete creation of New Zealand's own systems for institutional representation and inclusion.